Hello everyone, Sumaya here. Great to be here again. I know I would want to share a story from the book of Judges, chapter 19, that is about the Levite and his concubine. Before the land of Israel had kings, there lived a Levite in the remote mountain areas of Ephraim, who took himself a concubine from the land of Bethlehem in Judah. And because due to her faithfulness, she headed back to her father's house for a whole 4 months. And the Levite made up his mind that he would go speak kindly to her and bring her back to Ephraim. So he made himself ready along with his servant and their donkeys that had supplies to head out to Bethlehem. They reached there safely and were welcomed by his wife, who introduced him to his father-in-law. So they spent there 3 days and made merry with his father-in-law. They lodged there. He had them fed, and on the 4th day they were set to leave, but their father-in-law would not let them go. He kept telling them that, oh, first refresh yourself with a morsel of bread before you set off, and before they knew it, that the time was already late for them to travel. And on the 5th day, he told them the very same. First, refresh yourself with a morsel of bread before you set off. At this time, the Levite, his concubine, and the servant had made up their mind to set off. On their way to Ephraim, his servant suggested that they take a rest in the land of Jebus that belonged to the Jebusites. But the Levite objected and said, oh, it would be better that we go and spend a night in Gibeah, the land of our fellow brothers, the Benjamites. So they headed to Gibeah, and because they did not find accommodation and no one would host them, they spent some time in the open square in the city of Gibeah. That is where an old man who was coming from the fields, found them. He happened to be an Ephraimite, and he inquired from them, where are you from and where are you headed? And the Levite responded that we are from Bethlehem and we are heading to Ephraim. So he welcomed them in to have them refresh themselves, be fed, have their donkeys fed with fodder and straw, and take a rest through the night. While they were there, the old man's house was surrounded by perverted men who demanded that they get the Levite out, that they may know him. And the old man went out to them and negotiated with them that he would maybe at least give them his daughter, but not to tamper or do any harm to the Levite. But after they had insisted so much, that the Levite let out his wife to them, and they ravished her all night. So during dawn, the wife to the Levite came back and fell at the doorstep of the old man's house where they had spent the night. Well, when she fell down there in the morning, while the Levite was set to leave, he found his wife laying down at the doorway. He called out to her, but she never responded. He carried her aboard onto the donkeys so him and the servant would follow through with their journey to Ephraim. On reaching Ephraim, he cut the body of his late wife in pieces, limb by limb, into 12 pieces and distributed them to all the 12 tribes of Israel. That should have made a statement, because it made a statement. It made a statement, and the rest of Israel, the children of Israel, told him to consider, confer, and speak up for the outrage that was caused upon his life. All right. So, with that, I'm going to go ahead with chapter 20, telling you bits by bits about this. But then I get these to learn from just this chapter. I've learned that um, the Levite was trusting of his kinsmen because he did not take residence in the land of Jebus that belonged to the Jebusites, but chose the Benjamites to be the priority where he would spend a night. So he was trusting of his brothers. That is one of the things I've learned just from this chapter. And I also get to learn that I've also had something that reminds me of Sodom and Gomorrah when I read about how these perverted men surrounded the house and knocked it hard so that they can have the Levite step out, that they may know him carnally. That is something that reminds me so much of Sodom and Gomorrah. And also, like, it also gives me a sneak peek of how the things were done way back then. The Levite would have done anything but to dismember the body of his late wife just to make a statement was something and also to learn that he was encouraged to speak up. He was encouraged by the fellow Israelites to speak up about the outrage that was caused upon him, that he may get justice. He was encouraged. And how many times have we encouraged one another to, like, speak up on some issues, or do we just sweep things under the rug? Under the rug. So, with that, I think I've got that. It is captivating, and I'll be sharing more, expounding more on this when we get to chapter 20 and 21, because this story takes a whole 3 chapters that are really thrilling and captivating at the same time, that we really need to learn from. These are things that have even happened now, you know. Someone can be unfaithful, yes, and you want to go back to them and speak kindly to them that they may come. Those are normal things that happen day to day in our day to day life, all right? But that when you get there, whatever happens, how do you see yourself through and all? Yes, that is what I had to share. Let's meet in the next one with the 20th chapter of the book of Judges. Stay blessed. I am Sumaya. Bye.